This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Ping.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio. Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Joan and Janet are subtle energy empaths who navigate consciousness. Their passion is to support you in your evolution. As consciousness, we are all one. One mind, one heart, free of all limitations. Experience this reality with us and discover how it can make a difference in your daily living. Join us in a state of grace as we explore, with warmth and humor, this thing we call life. Now, here are Joan Newcomb and Janet Barrett.
Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. We're your co-hosts, Joan Newcomb, coming to you from, where am I coming to you from? Tacoma, Washington. And my partner is coming to you from Portland, Oregon. I will locate in physical reality any moment now.
Hi, everyone.
Over.
I'm Janet Barrett in Portland, Oregon.
She knows where she is.
This morning I do anyway, but, well, we're starting there. I could wind up being lots of places.
It's interesting because today's topic is actually about the malleability of our identities, but I could also say about the malleability about time and space. So, but to get focused on our identities are always changing. I mean, we're in a constant state of evolution, and where we get stuck is when we try to stay the same as we always have been. And we are collectively going through a massive, massive identity shift as we evolve as consciousness. So stay tuned today because we're going to talk about staying centered as reality reorients.
And it's doing that for sure. So if you'd like to join us off the show, you can join us at our website, www.consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. There you can listen to all our podcasts. Both Joan and I write blogs each week, so you'll find them there. And about our meetups, her up in the Puget Sound area and me in the Portland, Oregon area. And we also do private sessions with clients on Skype and technology, Zoom, different things like that. And we offer lots of different things. So you can find all our social media addresses there on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, I think, at the site. So what are we offering our listeners if they go to our website, Joan?
Well, when they go to our website, they can connect with us and read our blogs, like you mentioned, and find out about our sessions. And I also put my YouTube channel on our website as well, so you can access it there, or you can go to YouTube and find me, Joan Newcomb. But you can also find Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet directly on YouTube as well. And, you know, if Facebook is your favorite medium, Janet and I are there in spades. She's Janet Barrett and I'm Joan Newcomb. And we're also on Twitter. The show is on Twitter. So find us all in our central hub, Conscious Conversations with JoanandJanet.com. Now, the meetups that we have going on that is also listed on our site is Janet does hers in Portland on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then I do mine around the Puget Sound. It's usually on a weekend. So, for instance, this weekend I'm on Vashon Island, which is an island between Seattle and Tacoma. And then I'll be in Seattle the following week. And then I'm doing a couple of special things. I'm doing a special thing in Tacoma on rediscovering your purpose and regaining your passion. And that is a workshop I'm holding on Sunday, August 26th at the Cutter's Point Coffee. That's on Pearl Street. They have a really lovely meeting room in the back. It's only $10, so $2.15 on August 25th. Come find out how to reconnect to your purpose and regain your passion. I will be creating a webinar for that so people can access me from all over the place. I've had people, contacting me from Buenos Aires and places like that as well. So Janet, you've got meetups and you've also got groups. So tell them all about that.
Okay, well, my groups are on Thursdays at 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Pacific, and they're via Zoom video conferencing, which is something you can download on one of your apparatuses that you use, and live interactive. And it's about as close to being here as you can get in group. And we do lots of different things, and the focus is always with what shows up and who shows up, and exploring life and putting it in new terms from the space of heart-centered awareness. So you can get a registration packet at my website, Janet B. at Janet and Beyond. No, that's my email address. I'm sorry. And sign up and get all the information. We'd love to have you join us. So now, we did have an offer though, right? If they went to our website.
Yes. If you go to our website, you will see a pop-up there. Enter your email, and we will send you a gift. It is a gift both of Janet's wisdom and insights, Tim Talk tips of enjoying life, and I tell you, she is the supreme queen. If you go to Wikipedia to look up enjoying life, you will see Janet sitting in her hot tub in her glory. And then the other one is I'm sharing a technique. I do these various techniques and I record them on video so you can follow along. And it will be a technique to transform your life. Very valuable, something you can take with you, and even watching it once can completely transform. So go to our website, consciousconversationswithJoanandJanet.com, and you will find all those goodies there.
Well, I think what you were just talking about, that you could learn one thing and it can totally transform your life, speaks to the malleability of our identities. Don't you think, Joan?
Yes.
That's the whole point. That when you're accessing that part of yourself that's consciousness, there is no time or space. And to really appreciate what that means is that stuff happens in the moment. And we see it happen all the time. That's what our work is all about. So what we share with our listeners, and if you just right now in this moment pay attention to how you feel and what you're noticing as you are with us and as you have a sense of something deepening, you appreciate that those rules that guide your daily life are different. And so that malleable quality that it's going to go through anyway, because we're never the same. We all play different roles and stuff, can really be accentuated and accelerated. So, what are you noticing, Joan?
Well, I'm noticing several things at once. One thing I was noticing earlier was that I, believe it or not, I had an ability to slow down and be calm and centered at the same time as I was receiving increased communication. Mm-hmm. That's something I've noticed in the last 2-3 days.
Yeah, we've been talking about that.
Yeah, really increased communication. And then where are you in the midst of all that? Mm-hmm. And like Janet was mentioning, our identities, I see it's our personalities, but our personalities are made up of pictures or images or impressions. So they're like a veritable picture gallery. And as we evolve, grow, and change, they evolve, grow, and change as well. So your picture of yourself has changed radically since, you were a kindergartner going to school for the first time, to when you graduated college or when you were getting married or starting your first job. All those are identity shifts. And so a lot of us are experiencing those kind of concrete identity shifts that force us to evolve, but which also helps us grow and deepen as a sentient being in physical form. But the other thing that I find that's happening, even to people who feel like their lives are stable, is there's something else going on. It's an energetic shift, which I describe as consciousness coming into form. And it just feels very different is the best way I can describe it.
Well, we've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks, about how things seem to be slowing down. There seems to be, and that can just be the way, and always that's the way we're interpreting it. I don't think anything ever slows down. It's It's in variables all the time. It's just within us, there's something that's taking place. And as we shift gears in our awareness and as information presents itself in our subconscious and conscious minds and other influences, and that was one thing we'll be talking about today, is how different influences do move us to different places or they don't, and how we react with that. And so identity is something that's coming from lots of different influences. It's coming from always within our own context. And it does shift, like a body will mature. You know, it starts young and then it develops into something different than when it started. But it's what it was designed to do. You know, whatever that DNA and RNA dance is about is how that body develops. And it's always subject to change. The basic concept stays the same, but we can change what it looks like. And we do that with our character. We call that evolving. We call that transitioning and transformation. And it's malleable. And like a brain has plasticity and thinking has plasticity. And it's all subject to being this soft thing. And when something is hard, in thought, or, black and white, and that's what it is, and this is that. It sets up a different relationship to that malleability. And so we're just kind of going to be talking about that today, I think.
Very cool. Very juicy subject. Lots to say about it. And going to keep you in suspense because we have to take a commercial break, but stay tuned because we'll be talking about the malleability of our identities when we come right back.
Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath, accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye. Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm Joan, and along here with Janet, and we are talking about the malleability of our identities.
I think we start with the malleability of our realities,
yes.
Right? And that's one thing we're really noticing as we look at when you when you accept that part of yourself as consciousness, right? And it has no time and space. It's all just about potential and a few things of form, which would be energy and biophotons and patterns and resonances and all that. There's really nothing, not too much that's static, that's solid, we're talking about information that doesn't have a lot of form, though it can be experienced as form. And that's the delight of physical realm. So everything is malleable till it's not. And we're the ones who say when it's not. And there it is. And now it's not. And it's an interesting way of experiencing life when you're coming from that perspective, don't you think, Joan? I mean, sometimes it's like, what is that? Oh, it's that. And, oh, there it is again. I mean, if you're new to the idea of consciousness and technologies and how they work, that's one thing that you'll really bring an awareness to, is everything starts to get soft. Really soft.
Yes. Well, I think about the qualities of consciousness versus the qualities of our body personalities, or our egoic personalities, you could also describe. And so, my ego body personality is limited within time and space, and responds from resistance, basically. Resistance and fear, because survival is its most important thing. So it wants to know if something's going to kill us. And anything that's unknown is definitely going to kill us, because, that's a cliff we don't want to walk over. Right. And our physical bodies don't exist out in the future. So anything too far out in the future, or too high vibratory level, too ungrounded, is going to totally freak us out. Now, the qualities of consciousness is curiosity and amusement, and not located in time or space. And there is a softness, ability to relax, ability to kind of, gently flow into the next experience. And so we are all having more and more of that while still being located in our physical form. In the ancient times, I think you had to die to really get that feeling. But, more and more now we're having that within our physical form. And I think folks' challenge is how to stay present without being anchored into reality. So, a typical reaction to cling to the old ways of being, or cling to the old aspects of your personality, that's where you never recover losing your career as an architect in the crash of 2008, regardless of the fact that it's come back, the industry has come back enormously since then. So if you find yourself clinging or holding on to something, that's probably the thing to soften and let go of. And it doesn't mean that you lose it, but it means that you expand into something bigger.
Well, I think, okay, so what keeps coming to mind in this moment is a new gal who joined us last night in group. And there were like 7 of us, I think, 6 of us that meet. We're all familiar with this state of accessing heart-centered awareness. That's what I'm going to call it. And consciousness. And what that feels like, and how malleable things are, because we allow our bodies to reflect the malleability. And one minute you're upright, and the next minute you've sat down. And you didn't have any intention of sitting down. You just sat down. And she was into quantum, and she's a very nice gal. And what we come to find out is that she has found herself creating hiatus from her job. And her ex-husband, who she's close with, is doing the same thing, not understanding why she's doing that. And she's, a powerful, independent person. And she also mentioned that what she used to do to keep herself together is not working as well as it used to. And so she has been able to create the hiatus and go on it, where I'm sure many of our listeners have a sense they want to stop something or take a break, which is what hiatus is, taking a break from a pattern. And then, but they don't have the financial or whatever the circumstances are to do so. So they don't really get to revel in just, oh my God, I need to take a break. And how powerful that is, because we're so inclined to push ourselves beyond that. And, yeah.
Well, there's something else about that, is that often when you do need to create a break, you're creating it as consciousness. Mm-hmm. But if you're clinging to the old way of being, then the break is going to be jarring, sudden, or uncomfortable. Right. You'll get laid off. Your industry will collapse. Something, your loved one goes into the hospital. Something will.
That's what happens. Yeah.
Boom, happen. And exactly. Right. And when you're still in resistance to it, that's going to be painful, uncomfortable, or whatever. But when you're experiencing it either from heart space or from greater consciousness, you'll have an expanded perspective, and it softens into a bigger, better thing that happens.
So there's influences. Something happens, right? And so you are forced to stop a process, an habituated process, because that's what those things are. We're used to getting up at a certain time and doing things and going out the door and going somewhere and then committing ourselves to that day and then leaving and doing, and it becomes very habituated. And when you're taken out of that, or when you're an athlete or just somebody playing a game of, what is it? Courtside, you're either at tennis or you're basketball and you injure yourself and you can't use your hand and you break your leg or whatever it is, and now all of a sudden you have to accommodate a change in how you express yourself, but you may not be thinking in terms of that. That's that malleability that we're talking about. You do have the access, and we're going to say heart-centered awareness or greater consciousness, that says, okay, let's use this. How do you can you make this easier? Because a lot of people are just in an emotional reaction, right? They know that things don't work the way they were, and now I'm out of action. For 6 weeks, the doctor said, well, I'm not going to do it 6 weeks. And he goes back to work in 2 weeks, and then they re-injure themselves worse, or something happens, right? So if we appreciate the malleability to our identity when our reality changes, then we can go, okay, I haven't really lost anything. Maybe I gained something. Maybe now I'm going to notice and appreciate how my hand works. And I do that because I've never really appreciated it. But now that I need it and I can't use it, there's the appreciation. And that might have been what it was about. Who knows? I don't know. So malleability is a good way to experience in all areas of our lives. So, right.
Well, that was great. Now what are we talking about?
Well, I don't know. Do we have examples?
Okay. Well, actually, what I was going back to, I was thinking how
we talked about a lot yesterday when we were concepting.
We did. Might have said it all. But actually, what was coming to my mind was, in the time that I've known you, that you've had several times of like enforced breaks or something else that came up. And a couple of the different times they were health related for you. Were that just like the door shut and your focus totally turned inward? But I was also thinking of that summer when your father fell ill and boom, suddenly you were required in San Diego, know, so they were different but similar things that boom, didn't entirely take you offline, but required your presence elsewhere.
Right. And who I thought I was allowed to experience information in a new way. Because this is one thing that we do. Identity is wrapped around a lot of facets of self. And that's going to encompass a lot of different things. And the role we play as daughter, the role we play as wife, the role we play as helper of the role we play, as neighbor of the role we play. We play all these different roles, and sometimes they can feel very split. But in reality, they're all part of the whole that we are. And when you can allow for more flow in that, you know, it's like, for me, truly, I don't have a social face. I have the face you got. I mean, you know, even with makeup on, who I am and how I show up, there's not a lot of difference between a social face and interacting with people than there is in what I would call personal work kind of thing. And for a lot of people, they do feel that way, that like me, or they may feel that they present themselves in one arena in a certain way and not in another. And for me, that's more of a seamless responsiveness, chameleon almost fitting in. And so there's truly a malleable. So for malleable to me is where it's becomes what it can become, and then it becomes what it can become, and but it's all around a central principle that says this is Janet, right? So over those years, different experiences come in, different information shows up. I get to expand, contract, react, resonate, trigger. I can have all kinds of responses. So, in that, and by the time you get done, you go, oh, wasn't that fun?
So how you stay centered in all that? How do you stay centered in all that? Is it?
I don't know. How do you?
I mean, you know, I would say for you, Janet, is how you stay centered is just by being malleable, by rolling with it, right, kind of thing.
Right.
So it's kind of an Aikido approach to life. Life comes at you and you gently roll aside, kind of thing.
Well, you know, there's definitely those things that will tax us as the human, you know, the emotional responding personality part of ourselves. And I anymore try and give that space. When I know I'm in that space, I don't necessarily react in a way to engage what's happening. Because I appreciate that I'm in that place, and I want to be able to step back and then respond. So to not be in a reactive state, I guess. So it's the difference between reacting and responding. So, you know, sometimes timing, because of the human element, there's a sense of time. Okay, something happened on Friday and it isn't till Tuesday that you hear back, or something happens. And that's not always a bad thing. For me, it's not, because I realize, okay, I'm in my hurt or I'm in my happy, and that will set up certain equations and certain reactions and certain responses and certain conditions. So let me step back. So what I appreciate about myself is being able to recognize where my sense of consciousness and me personal are dancing, and trying to respect that, and appreciate what the strengths of each are, and going, okay, I don't want to respond from this place, so let me. Now, there is power in that, but I would prefer to be in the neutral position of consciousness engaging, saying, this was my experience, this is my experience of feeling this way. Now I'm not in an agenda place. I offer this to you, and I'm inviting you to give me feedback about that. That's really kind of the negotiating that we do, you know, about stuff.
Yeah. I come from a more active response. And
you got that fire going.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how many fire signs I've actually got, since I'm a Taurus, but I'm in the cusp of Aries. So, but my old technique doesn't work anymore. And it used to be to chord the earth. And, you know, that was a huge thing for me. And one of the things that happened with my own consciousness shift is the center of the earth disappeared, because we're all in a hologram. It's kind of like being on the holodeck. But even if I try to pretend that that still exists, it's like trying to access the cosmic internet using dial-up. It sends into a more denser reality, and it's just not working for me anymore. So I had to find other ways to be centered or to, be within the hologram of reality and to move through it. To move through it without, crouching into resistance. And so one of the things I play with is, centering in the hologram. And I've got a couple of different techniques, but you can also make up your own technique for that. And just whether or not it's centering within the hologram or centering within yourself more, and where do you center within yourself? Because our physical bodies are, I've got to find a better word than anchor point, but our physical reality, our physical bodies are our local location point within this experience. So
it's a placeholder in consciousness.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And the thing is that it's not about us squeezing into a little tiny bitty living space. We're these great giant genies with a tiny little living space. It's more that both can exist at once. But when you have a reference point into your form, it's so much easier to navigate that form and navigate through this reality. It helps your body's responses to things.
I got taken with the inside of the genie bottle and became a genie.
Right.
I was like, and then I was thinking of Robin Williams as the genie going, okay, did he feel that he was in a small space, or how did the genie relate
that? Actually that's a quote from Aladdin, with the character of, the genie said, great infinite power, itty bitty living space. So,
I love it.
He always was trapped back into the bottle kind of thing.
Right. But since he was so big, he could be so small, so he could fit his circumstances, right? I mean, you can go lots of ways with all this.
Right. Well, and it really describes how we experience ourselves as consciousness, because as consciousness, we are infinite. And then we tend to resist or dismiss our physical bodies because they're these solid things that are smaller, three-dimensional rather than multidimensional. And what I'm finding now is all those definitions are softening so that you can be your multidimensional self within your physical form. I believe our energy systems and our physical bodies have actually upgraded to allowing for more of that within physical form. We're just not used to it, or we're not used to being able to handle that. The sensitivity that comes with it. So we do other things to make ourselves feel grounded and real.
Right. Well, okay, so the word malleable, because I guess something was ringing my bell here. As an adjective, it's of a metal or other material, able to be hammered or pressed permanently out of shape without breaking or cracking. So it's pliant, pliable, workable, soft, and also easily influenced, pliable. So, it's, one part of me would go, I don't know if I want to be like that. And then the other part is like, oh no, there's strength in being pliable and being malleable, in being, movable, and, it's kind of like when I worked with a wonderful old Chinese Qigong master who described us as, you're a sheet of sheet metal, and beautiful and pristine when you're born. And then you take the hammer and you hammer it. And what happens is that the integrity of the metal sheet becomes much stronger, because now it doesn't have to be scarred or when you look at a sheet of sheet metal, it's quite, movable maybe. So, and I'm using my words wrong, I know. So the quality is that in that hammering, it becomes a shape that can hold itself. And what we want to look is that how the quality of something that can be hard is soft. And it is soft and pliant, and then it's firm. And when we say hard, that might set up a certain premise. And it's just how that firmness holds its integrity. And so there's really nothing to be lost in being at this approach. It allows you to be in response, and when there's a divot here, there might be that place, like with a vacuum, when you hit something and then the other side pops out. I mean, it can be rebalancing somewhere else and playing. And I just want people to think in terms of identity that's doing this, and that there really is no loss. There is just this shift of where the dynamics are playing, perhaps.
Yeah, I keep thinking how gold is a malleable metal. And in its purest form, it is very malleable. And in order to, shape it into a ring or whatever piece of jewelry or something, you have to mix it with something to solidify it. Mm-hmm. So if you just think it, then at our purest essence, we're very malleable.
Well, that's the whole thing. That's what potential is. It has no form yet. So it can become energy in form. And that is our true nature, I think. And that's within all of us. It's all become something. It's taken some form, whether we can see the form or not. Dynamics are at play. So, in this time, for all of our listeners and you, wherever you might be listening to us, it's just a quality of as an invitation that we offer and extend out of if things could be soft. And that's the one thing about the heat. See, I'm not on one level, all this heat that we're all going through, things soften in the heat, right? And is that a bad thing? Because what happens is things relax, and then you get out of the hot tub, or the day passes into the coolness of the night. You really have a different appreciation, and you also don't necessarily immediately go back to what you were. You can take that state of rest and begin again. And so I embrace the heat, no matter how much I'm not in it.
Being present in the moment, knowing that you have a do-over, that every moment is, every day is a new experience kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
what do we notice? Well, I think, maybe what we're noticing for our audience and as our audience, is what if we could relax? What if we could let go of how something has always been, or how an influence has said what you were, and you were in reaction or resistance or defiance or acceptance or suffering under the auspice of what that title is or what that definition is. And what if that could just relax a little bit? And so in this place, just notice that, because I think it's okay to slow down, to appreciate this, because consciousness is, there's certainly no conspiracy, but it's what has shown up is this space. And there is no time or space in consciousness, so we experience it as space and time slowing down, that things can reorganize within ourselves. I mean, doesn't everybody have something they'd like to have different, Joan?
Oh, yes. And one thing I just wanted to pop in there to let people know that when you do slow down and you are fully present, it's not a contraction.
Right.
So it's not a wiggling into a girdle kind of thing. It's not a squeezing into a little bitty living space. Right. Being a person of action, I tend to not want to slow down to even complete my sentences. But I think that being in form is going to limit me, or being in the present moment or present time is going to limit me because there's all these wonderful things out there to go towards. And when I do take time to be present and centered, I'm amazed at how infinite it feels. That is where you can access your infinite possibilities. That is where you can start creating the steps to manifest what you want to manifest.
Yeah, I think because, unless you allow that place in yourself, what you're noticing in your habituated fire mode, right, is going to follow a certain track. And that when you slow down, allow yourself to engage differently, you see that there's maybe other choices that you were too busy to notice, right? And then you go, oh, well, this might be more interesting. I mean, I think there's that place that says this will be more interesting. Now, some people may say, oh, that's going to be hard work. And, oh, I don't know. But what it will be is more interesting. And there's a different way of feeling those two energies about it. Or it might be quite simple. It might just clear the path because you can see that, oh, I've been on this path where it's really difficult. So, that's why allowing ourselves to stop and re-engage is important, I think. So. You want your fire to burn the right direction, right?
Yeah, you want it to.
Controlled fires are much better
we
than.
are not self-emulating.
We're in fire country all around, right? The West Coast. Right. So,
right. Our skies are red and the fires are, 400, 500 miles away.
Yeah, they're burning. So, and this is how we help. It's like, okay, can this become a controlled burn? And what happens there? So, in this reality it can. So.
And nothing is ever really lost.
Mm-mm.
It may be displaced into a universe that you're not currently in.
Right.
But the core essence of you is not lost, and the core essence of things that are truly important is never lost. It just might be reorganized. And it reorganizes into something infinitely deeper and richer than what it was before.
I suppose a simile might be it's like a summer wardrobe and winter wardrobe, right? And so we go through these cycles. So you wear in this heat, you're going to be pulling stuff off. And then as you go through fall and time and systems and sensations shift, right? Space shifts, that you'd have a different wardrobe in the wintertime. Or you may live someplace where it's always like winter. You may live someplace where it's always like summer. And so there's not so much distinction between the difference of that wardrobe and this wardrobe.
You've covered all the people in the Congo and in Antarctica that are listening to us. That's great.
I don't want to leave anybody out because, if you live someplace where you dress warmly all the time, like Alaska, those are different things, but, it's how we adjust. And I think probably we don't even notice ourselves adjusting. That's one thing about family reunions and holidays and funerals and all the like, because you come together with where you perceived your identity was forming out of, and you just go, am I still that, or has that changed much, or how you feel back to the old reality and identity? And so it can. I think we're just looking to feel more relaxed with what does show up.
Well, that could be relaxing.
Well, you can really feel. I think our guest last night, hopefully she'll become more part of the group. She put it so well. I'm on a hiatus and I don't know why I created this. And we're all kind of like really aware that this time, our experience of this time is different. And as consciousness will step in and play with it and use it and see what's there for us and how we let it. So it's nothing to be alarmed about. I think it's something to appreciate deeply. And if you can't go on hiatus and you have to go back to work, or you're at work listening to us now, it's like that part of you that is understanding clearly and doesn't question because it's your consciousness at play with us, is engaged. And so things might feel a little different or seem a little different, or you'll notice something different today driving home or at lunch, you know.
Guess what I'm noticing?
Is it time for...
I am noticing time and space, and that we exist within time and space for this show. So we do have to stop for a commercial break, but stay tuned because we're talking about the malleability of our identities when we come right back.
Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye. Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet. We have been talking about the malleability of our identities. Have we got any final last words on that, Janet?
I think what you can appreciate is that when you start to consider and open yourself up to malleable, that it'll show up. And we demonstrate it all the time. Is that when you engage your world from that perspective, expect things to be different, you know, and the first time that happens, that can be kind of odd, like happened to our cat last night, and where you develop a comfort with, okay, things are moving and I think they're shifting and it's not necessarily what you expect. So that's the fun part of it.
Yeah, being open and playful, amused. Yeah. And, you know, we've talked about this before, but it's also it's shifting your perspective. So if you find yourself in a very narrow, rigid, uncomfortable space, you know, either drop into heart space and view it from the infiniteness of heart space, or go up to 30,000 feet, view it from like airplane, Goodyear blimp mode, and get a different perspective, and it becomes a lot easier to navigate.
And there's room for all, right? There's not one thing that's right or the other. So.
No, and we all have our own unique ways of doing it, I would say.
Yeah, totally.
So we can't force somebody else to do it our way. That also makes it kind of resistant in our space.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I do like to let people know is how to connect with us beyond the show. So if you have enjoyed our conversation and you would like to hear more of it, we have all our podcasts on our website, which is consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. You can also read our blogs. Janet and I write about these topics each week. You can also learn about our meetups. We hold meetups in Portland and in Seattle and Tacoma. So we have face-to-face meetups, and we also have things online. I usually have about a monthly webinar, and we do clients online, and Janet has her groups online as well. I want to let people know about our social media. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, and we're on YouTube, and you can access all of that on consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. You can find all the links to that there. So join us there and join the fun. And Janet, do you want to briefly tell them about your groups, and then I'll tell them about my meetups coming up?
Okay, so Thursdays, 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. Pacific via Zoom video conferencing, something you can download easily on your device or computer. And you can join us. It's just about as almost like being here with what shows up and how we play at life. And you can get that registration packet at my website, at the show's website, or you can email personally me at janetb@janetandbeyond.com. And also sign up for my consciousness cookies for the day. You'll see them posted on my sites at LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, our website. Just something to think about, feel for the day, and some awareness. So.
Great. And then if you're in the Seattle-Tacoma area, you can connect with me. I'm actually in 2 meetups this weekend. I'm on Vashon Island on Saturday, and then I'm in Seattle on Sunday at the library in Magnolia. So you can have a conscious conversations with me if you're in either of those places. And the following week, I will be in Tacoma doing a Rediscover Your Purpose and Regain Your Passion workshop at the Cutters Point Coffee on Pearl and 21st, I think that is, in North Tacoma. And then the first week in September, I'm back in Tacoma at the Conscious Conversations in Wheelock, North End. So you can meet with us face to face. I also, as I said, I do monthly webinars online. You can find all the details on our website. And Jan and I both can connect with clients. We do connect with clients all around the world using Zoom or Skype or by phone. So, any last words as we are flying into the port or?
Listeners, whether you're listening to us live or you're listening to us into the future, it doesn't matter, because we've got this set up that what you get, you'll get what you need when you don't even know what you need. In this opening that we hold for all of us, and that let yourself notice something different. If you see that you read a book, all of a sudden you've had it on your counter for 6 months and it catches your eye. If you grab it onto a color, you seem to notice it showing up a lot. These are very small, subtle ways that tells you that you're shifting in intention and focus and awareness. And just to be appreciative and delight yourself. Look for the delights in awareness that show up. So.
Well, I want to appreciate everyone who is listening to this, because like Janet said, regardless of where you're listening to this or when you're listening to this, there's no time or space as consciousness. So you are actually contributing to the morphic field of this show. Your energy is helping to create this show with us, and we really appreciate your presence. Your presence is a gift to us.
It certainly is. And we enjoy being with all of you. So.
You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, and this is Janet.
Hello. Goodbye, everyone. Take care. Have a great
Tune in
week.
next week. Same time, same channels.
You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And thanks so much for helping to co-create the show, no matter if you're listening live or on demand. You energetically contribute to our collective experience. Joan and Janet love to hear from you and invite you to email your comments and ideas for them to explore each week. Contact them at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Tune in next week for another great show, and until then, keep enjoying this wonderful adventure we call life.